Okay, so let's get to what we check in with you and me, what we did for the week. Oh, what you doing? Oh, what you doing? What you doing? Ba-da-da-da-ba. Toys for Tots.
Look, I added the.
I know you're getting. I like
You're
your excitement level is high.
Year and a quarter later.
There you go. Exactly. Joe, what you doing?
A couple things, David. First of all, saw a movie with the wife. You may have heard of this. It came out a few weeks ago. It's called Allied.
Yes, Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, excuse me, and Marion.
She's the one that's always nominated for an Academy Award. We care about her. What is it? The joke every 3 months or 3 months of the year because they do the Academy Awards.
Yeah,
she's a fantastic actor. So
yeah, so it takes place in World War II. It's a World War II romance movie, of course.
What goes together than peanut butter and jelly than World War II and romance?
Exactly. It was funny. Someone asked how this movie was, and we're like, "Oh, it's a decent movie. You know, it's World War II. It's romance." And they were like, "I don't like romance in my World War II movies." And I was just like, "Wait, what?" I don't know. I don't know why that matters, but I want more gritty and people dying all the time. Anyway, I just have a couple notes. I don't want to spoil it too much. Pretty much, Brad Pitt is a Canadian soldier. And works with the female character, again, played by that actress. I can't remember her name.
I want to say it's Collier or something. It's
something like that, yeah.
Marine Collier or something.
And they're both spies, and they're working in, I think, Morocco to try to defeat some Nazis. They're kind of blending in whatever. Mm-hmm. They fall in love, of course. Goes back to London.
How could you not?
Yeah, it goes back to London, and then it comes out, we think your wife is a German spy. Dun, dun,
Double agent, right?
Hilarity ensues.
Of course.
It's an all right movie.
It's just all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It's definitely a good movie to take, your wife or significant other to. Like I said, it is a romance movie.
But it has like the action. There is some action, or is it just tension? Is it that?
It's more tension than action. And honestly, I didn't think there was enough tension. But check it out if you like those kind of movies. I did put a couple notes here. Brad Pitt equals a cardboard cutout. He has no emotion.
Really?
Should have selected an actor.
I actually think Brad Pitt's not a terrible actor. I mean, granted,
I think just in this movie, I think almost his name, they got him to sell the movie because they kind of knew it wasn't going to be an excellent movie. But I don't know, they should have gotten somebody else, like a smaller actor. He was just like, there's a part where something happens. I'm not going to spoil, obviously.
And he's just
no. Should be devastated, and he's just like, oh no,
yeah, that sucks.
Anyways,
is the timepiece, because again, it's World War II. Does it look cool? Like, did they have like battle scenes, or is it just all like spy stuff? Like more
spy stuff.
Did they do
like front lines kind of action?
Did they do that cool thing where like they almost get caught as spies and they do something sneaky, like James Bondy? Not old school James Bond.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Well, that sucks. I want some of the James Bond spy stuff in there, but
anyways, a couple other things. One other thing you can do while sitting, Dave, is listen to music.
That is true.
And we don't talk about music a lot on this podcast, other than the fact that I'm not a huge music fan.
I sing every single episode. How dare you say this show is not about music?
I meant good music, David. Anyways.
How dare you?
So a couple weeks ago, this short film came out that was put together, the CG film based on Majora's Mask. It's called Time's End. Definitely check it out. It's great. Anyway, the music behind that...
Zelda Majora's Mask for the kids that were born in
Legend of
this
Zelda
decade.
Majora's Mask.
Some kids don't know that. Well, I guess it came out on 3DS.
So. 3DS now, yeah. Exactly. So very good. Almost one of my favorite Zelda games. It's very dark, different than the other stuff.
Yes.
Anywho, the music behind that, which is kind of like, it's the music from the game, but it's more like orchestral. It's very good. An album came out, and I realized that same time his second album came out with that short film, he actually did one a few years ago, which is another remix of the songs from the game. But if you just like, obviously if you like Majora's Mask or any Zelda game, check out the albums. It's by Theophany.
Yep.
Theophany, or just search for Time's End. 1 and 2. But anyway,
so they take the music, they take the original music from the game, and then they kind of mess with it. Or?
Yeah, it's remixed, but it's almost like they're almost new composition. I don't know, they're like new pieces of music based on it. So like I said, they're long, they're orchestral. It's very, very, very good. Mm-hmm. Definitely check it out. I just wanted to note that.
And have you ever been to any of those? Because like I've seen where they do like John Williams. Not him, but like traveling people will actually do like Star Wars, and they'll actually do a full concert. Have you ever been to something like that?
No, there's actually a traveling called Zelda Symphony of the Goddess.
Yeah.
which goes around, and they were in Vegas a couple years ago. Actually, I think before I moved here.
I'd
They
wanna
haven't
check
been
that out.
since, but yeah, I wanted to
I
check
think it
out.
would just be
They're gonna be
weird.
in LA, I think, in a couple months.
The problem with it is like because if I hear the Zelda theme, I have to do it out loud. Dun, 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 dun. So like the whole time I would just be doing that, not listening, because I love that song. But when I was a kid, I just would do it constantly.
Yeah,
Right?
They also have Video Games Live is another big one that
Yeah.
tours around. I haven't been to theirs. They haven't been to Vegas at all either.
There's a whole like chiptune. There's like a whole like music industry, not industry, but I mean, there's a whole music genre of just chiptune 8-bit going crazy with it. Like so.
Well, I don't really necessarily like the 8-bit stuff, but I definitely I'm someone who was in band for 6 years. Like I like a lot of the big orchestral stuff like that. So seeing some of the music that was more MIDI and stuff turned into these big orchestral pieces is really freaking cool. So definitely check it out. Recommend that. What else I got?
What else you got? What else you got?
Oh, so as we know, next week we're going to do our Force Awakens. Whoops, that was last year. Rogue One podcast is next week, right? So I've mentioned that I was reading the book, Rogue One Catalyst, which is kind of leads into what happens in the movie. I just finished reading that, David.
How was it?
Very good.
Don't spoil it, but just give me enough.
You always say that.
I know.
And look at all these notes.
Okay, well then, okay.
I'm not going to spoil it.
Let's do
Let's
this.
just say
You
by
can-
the
you can-
no, it's fine.
okay, all right.
There's really nothing to spoil. It just tells the relationship between Galen Erso, which is Jin's dad, and you see him. He plays by Mads Mikkelsen in the movie, in the trailers, and all this.
Yeah.
The relationship between him and then Orson Krennic, which is the we presume is the big baddie in the movie,
Right.
which is the guy you see all dressed in white, right?
He's got a cloak. Anybody
Yeah.
who has a cape is a bad guy.
Yeah,
That's how it
but he
always
wears
is.
all white, and it pretty much tells their relationship. And then you kind of see, you read Jin being born, and then Krennic manipulating Galen into doing research for this celestial power is what they call it, but it's actually the Death Star, obviously.
Right.
Project, and he's a, I think they call him like a crystallologist,
Yeah.
or something like that. But his specialty are these kyber crystals and how to harness the energy within them and then use that as renewable energy for, to power cities and maybe whole planets.
So good things.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. And then of course,
and I guess the big step fall behind this research is just like I can't get the energy contained. Like we can get the energy to a certain point and then just kind of explodes, right?
Right, exactly.
And he just can't figure out the last piece of this big puzzle. And Orson Krennic is just like, hey, you know what? You're doing good things for the Empire. Which, by the way, it's cool because the book starts out when it's still the Republic against the Separatists, and that's how he kind of gets him to do this research.
Because at that time they were going against the Separatists and the
Exactly.
prequels that were considered the bad guys. Right?
And the book follows through when it turns into the Empire. And all that. Really cool stuff. But anyways, so instead, Orson Krennic's like, you know what? Instead of keeping that energy inside, why don't we just release it and figure out a way to focus it?
That uncontrollable energy.
Exactly,
Right.
and then you use that focus energy for energy or whatever.
Well, I wonder what they use it for.
Exactly, and by the end of the book, Galen realizes that his research is not used for good purposes. Obviously,
Right.
Is being used without his knowledge to build weapons. Obviously,
Death Star Ray.
exactly. So they end up leaving to another planet. And that's kind of where we see in the trailers where you see Orson Krennic landing on the planet.
Yeah, and he's looking at him
Jin
like,
says like a little
you
girl.
need to come with me. Right,
Exactly.
type thing. Now, what's interesting, those crystals, those are the same crystals that are used in Jedi lightsabers.
Yep.
So,
Kyber crystals.
yeah, so those are all, I love how everything is wrapped into everything in Star Wars, right? So you've got the weapon that was for good is now being used, and it's in a more powerful way for evil.
But not only that, but one of the big pitfalls of kyber research is that kybers are very hard to find. They're almost like
unobtainium and
yeah.
like
and they're used by the Jedi for force powers and all that kind of stuff for
research
energy. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're not really well known or spread around. And obviously we see the transition from the Republic to the Empire, and Orson's like, "Don't worry, man, I got plenty of crystals for you now."
Yeah, we killed all those Jedi.
Yeah, and this shows a part where he opens a box and there's all these small kyber crystals, and Galen's wife is like, "Oh my god," she realizes they're all from lightsabers. And it's like, "Oh man, like Order 66 and like the elimination of all the Jedi." So it's like it's just crazy.
Awesome. No, it's gonna. I'm extremely excited for Rogue One, and you telling me just a little bit about this. I hope that they pepper that in. I'm sure they will to some extent because it'll have to explain the relationship between the two characters, the guy who's like Krennic, and then what's the other guy's name? Galen. So they'll have to give that because Jen Erso has to. She's gonna be like, my dad's a good guy. He wouldn't have built this, right? And so, or maybe she realizes and she like
She was forced to do it.
Yeah,
or he was forced to do it.
or just even she says he did do it and disavows him or whatever it may be. The motivation behind all of that will be.
But just the manipulative ways that Orson Krennic goes to get Galen to this research is like real. Like, oh man, that's dark. And they were like college buddies, not necessarily college, but like a special school for engineers and researchers and stuff. Another cool thing we see in the book is the relationship between Orson Krennic and Will of Tarkin. And Tarkin, as we all know, is, by the time we see him in New Hope, is the Grand Moff of the Imperial Navy, all this kind of stuff. So we see their relationship, and they're kind of like trying to one-up each other, trying to get higher in the Imperial ranks. You know, you kind of typical tit for tat kind of thing.
It is also fun. I mean, the with Rogue One, you know, I was always worried that we know what's going to happen, right? So it's got to be, the moment to moment has to be really, really interesting, because at the end of, it's like Titanic, right? We all know what happens.
We know the boat sinks and a lot of people die.
Right, exactly. So it's like the moment to moment and the character involvement within that has to be so, you know, it has to get your hooks in you.
Or boobs. I mean, that worked in Titanic, right?
That's true. It's a Disney movie, so I doubt that will happen. But I think what's going to be interesting is to watch the machinations of how Krennic tricks his friend into doing these terrible things. You know what I mean? And like, you know, like, oh, don't do that. Like, they're lying.
But I almost don't think we'll see that. I think at the very beginning, like we've seen in the trailers, they're going to pick him up, be like, you tried to escape last time. This time, this isn't happening. You're coming with us, or we're going to kill your daughter and your wife.
Right.
And so he has to, and he's kind of forced.
But I think there'll be a little bit of peppered in backstory about how he, like, it's like the guys who made the atom bomb. You know, they were like, oh, well, we thought we were trying to harness nuclear energy to power cities and help people, you know, low income people, and you know, basically make energy for everybody affordable. And it's like, oh yeah, we made that and turned it into a big bomb. It's like,
it follows the same exact premise.
I played Metal Gear. I know what happens. Nothing good comes from any kind of research. They're like, how can we put this in a weapon? It's like, oh,
every time, yeah,
every single time.
But anyway, so it just gets me even more pumped up. Obviously, to see the movie.
Is this the best one so far that you've read out of the Leia one? The
No, I definitely like. I mean, Tarkin is. I don't know why, honestly, but Tarkin is one of my favorite characters. He's just so like, I don't know. He's just so cool.
Well, there was a whole book designated to just his development of his character.
Well, the same guy who wrote Tarkin wrote this Catalyst book too.
Gotcha. It's not Chuck, right? Chuck.
No, that was he does the Aftermath. Chuck
Chucks.
Winding or whatever. But anyway, yeah, definitely check it out. Obviously, if you're a Star Wars canon nerd like I am, and you want to read all this kind of stuff, definitely check it out before the movie comes out next week.
You only got a week to read it.
Yeah, I'm reading Ahsoka now, which kind of tells the story of her after Clone Wars and Between Rebels. So that's the book I'm reading now.
Did that just come out again?
It came out a month or two ago.
So it's new. Okay. Yeah. I wonder. I was reading an article, if I remember correctly, when that Chuck guy was writing Aftermath about how Disney has been on like lockdown with his manuscripts and his like working product before the book comes out. Like, it's no joke. Like,
well, they have like a board of just story people, and like they want to make sure all the content that they're putting out obviously that's part of the canon,
right,
all makes some sort of sense. They don't want it what happened with the EU, or now it's called Legends, where it was just like everyone kind of did their own thing. It's like, oh, now Han and Leia are married. It's like, oh, now they're doing like, Han died in this story. It's all over the place.
I can't imagine what that type of meeting is like, because you know there's some people in there that are like live and die Thrawn character lovers, and then there's people who love Boba Fett or whatever it may be, or some EU character or Legends character that's like, oh yeah, we can bring them in. They're like, we've told you for the 10th time, Larry, we are not bringing him into the canon. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but now we see Thrawn now, which was a big come in the Rebels into the canon now. So you see they're trying to take some of the best parts of that EU and make it so it fits into the canon.
And my question, do you think in Rogue One there will be that, moment where they like just a quick, like somebody walks by,
I don't know, in one of the trailers they have a picture of Ghost,
the
Ghost same
ship
freighter from Rebels, and just seeing that there, I'm like, oh my god, all it has to be is like them coming in right for battle, and if you hear Hera, like
just her voice,
this is the Ghost reporting, I will lose my mind. That would be so cool.
Right.
So yeah, that would just be super
I think they have
awesome.
to do that, right? I mean, you look at like even like the X-Men movies where it's like a TV thing and they're like, oh, Hank McCoy is down at the Senate arguing for mutants, and it's like, I know who Hank McCoy is. He's
just a little references. You don't have to like show them, or like obviously there's no Jedi supposedly in Rogue One, and Kanan is a Jedi, so you don't have to show any of that. But just like, Phoenix Squadron, we're warping. It's like, that'd be so cool.
I can just imagine you. But we are going to go see it next week, and then we'll do a
whole spoiler cast.
We'll do a spoiler cast on it next week. So again, and if you haven't watched it, go watch the movie and then listen to our spoiler cast.
Yeah, anyway, last thing I got, David, a new trailer came out yesterday.
Yes.
We're a Star Wars / Marvel podcast, David.
Well, this is Sony, so sort of. I guess it is Marvel.
It is weird. Oh, by the way, we're talking about the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer came out. It is weird seeing the Sony logo and then the Marvel Studios logo.
Yeah,
because I don't know, it's weird, but it's a partnership that hopefully will work for the better.
Yes,
for us fans. But anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. What did you think?
Looks fantastic. I mean,
of course it does, right?
It does. I mean, the good news here is I hope that they, there appears to be the origin story here. I hope doesn't take place. It already come on.
We know he gets bit by a spider.
We know.
Powers.
Please do not do that.
And it seems like in Civil War.
He
already had his power. Yeah,
right.
He's like, I'm Spider-Man. I got this really crappy costume, but this is me.
Right, but I think there inevitably, I think there will be moments of him like and I think there are moments where he's like learning his
sequence. Uncle Ben, no.
Right. I don't want to see Uncle Ben in it. Honestly, like I'm done. I'm okay with that.
I just want hot Aunt May, right?
Yeah. What was it?
Marissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei. Yeah. No, but Tony Stark's obviously in it, which looks fantastic.
And the Tony Stark humor is there.
So good. And the suit looks great. His voice.
He has webbing from like the first iteration of Spider-Man, the comics and stuff.
Yeah.
That was super cool to see.
Cool.
And the costume is like the classic, like the little tiny spider on the front, big spider on the back.
Yeah. And I love there's a moment where he hits the button in the center, and essentially the costume kind of, it's just a unique way of doing it. It's very Tony Stark though, right? Because it makes sense. Because like when you think of his traditional costume, it's like a shirt that he pulls over his head. Right. Here it's
some
like
kind of weird like spandex suit.
Right. And here it's like a suit that like forms, like clings to his body, and then it unclicks or whatever, unfurls when he hits the center thing. Like super cool. I'm always frustrated when their best friend knows who they are. I don't like that in superhero movies, because then it just creates, oh, he's an easy victim.
It seems like these MCU movies, like they're not really worried about the very first Iron Man movie.
I am Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not really worried. It's not like the DC where it's like, oh my God, who's Batman? Who's Superman?
Yeah.
They're pretty open. You have Steve Rogers, hanging out without his helmet and all that kind of stuff. So they don't really care so much about that.
I think this
stuff.
is the first movie where Peter Parker feels like a high school kid.
Yeah, like seeing him like at the school, and he got like the cheery music for the trailer.
Right, because like Tobey Maguire didn't even in the first one didn't feel like he looked older. Like he looks older.
And there were a couple of the scenes where he's in school, but it's like it seemed like he was a senior.
Yeah, like this one, he seems like at best a sophomore.
Yeah, and he's in school and all.
Yeah, and he's got like the dorky. He's a dork, and his friends are dork.
At the girls.
He's like, oh, we gotta better stop staring.
He's got the fat friend.
That's great. I can't wait to see it.
Who's the love interest? The girl? What's her name in the movie? Not the actress's name. Is that Gwen? Like,
I think they're either going to do Gwen or Mary Jane, unless they just.
I know
make
it was a big
character.
controversial.
I think it was just because of
American, but
who cares?
No, I know who cares. I'm just saying, like, it was a big deal.
Just make the movie good. And there's that moment at the very end where he's webbing the two pieces of the ship liner and he's holding it together. Like,
remind me of Spider-Man 2, by the way.
Right, that's
the train scene.
And I think it's got to be a little bit of an homage, right? I mean,
maybe
it's got to be.
I mean,
those movies are great. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are fantastic. That's at the end of the day. I was telling my wife, she watched the trailer. She's like, I'm done with Spider-Man. And I was like...
And honestly, most people are too, but I think...
Those movies came out a long time ago. Because the Amazing Spider-Mans were terrible. Like, the first one
was all right.
At its best moments, it was okay. Like, at its very, very best moments. But
we always say, like, the Tobey Maguire ones, he was a good Peter Parker, not a good Spider-Man. Right. And the Andrew Garfield, he was a good Spider-Man, but not a good Peter Parker.
And he seems to... Hopefully he strikes a balance, because when he's
Tom Holland, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Holland, where he's like, you guys aren't the Avengers. And he's like, I could tell, because he's being snarky. That's what Spider-Man was. But then when he's out of the costume, he's uncomfortable. Like, it's cool. Like, it feels
social phobia,
right. That's the Peter Parker Spider-Man that you want. You want the one that is Spider-Man in the costume and Peter Parker at school. Mm-hmm. And like, he can't, even as confident and as cool as he is as Spider-Man, he takes off the mask. He's like, I'm a loser, right? Yeah. Like, that's what you ultimately need for a good Peter Parker Spider-Man duo. So,
and I do like the villain in this looks like it's going to be the Vulture.
Yes.
Which,
are we only going to give him bird roles? Is that basically
right? Michael Keaton. But he's not the best villain like in the cartoon and stuff. Like, he's always kind of lame.
Yeah, he's super lame.
I actually really like this because I don't want some like world-ending villain in this little movie. Like, I'm done with that. Marvel movies that do that.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's more contained, and it's like Tony Stark says in the trailer, like, we got guys that can handle this guy. You don't have to worry about it. And I want to prove myself. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, he wants to become an Avenger. Like, his motivation is to be one of the cool, to be as good as Thor and Hulk and Iron Man and stuff like that. That's cool.
And I know that here too, because a lot of those kind of singular character movies in this MCU are like, this is this big event. Like, why aren't the Avengers helping him out?
That
and this kind of explains it, where Tony or Peter Parker's like, I want to do this myself. I want to prove myself. So it makes it work.
Yeah.
So it's not any of those.
You think any like ridiculous surprise in this one?
Oh, there'll be some kind of crazy world or end credit thing. I mean,
But we
got Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in May, right? And then this in July.
Wow, they're just cranking them out, man.
Yeah,
print that money.
Yep. Anyway, that's all I got for this week. David, what you doing?
I've got a couple things this week. So, of course, I'm always playing new board games.
What?
I know. Well, the thing is, we've got the best of 2016 coming up, so I'm trying to make sure I get through all those games that came out this year.
I was actually honestly thinking about that because I'm like, I play video games, but I haven't really played a lot of video games this year.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we're not a game review podcast, so I don't feel bad.
Right, no,
we haven't seen every movie.
And it's our
exactly.
best. It's not the best. It's our best.
Exactly.
But this week I got a new board game that just came out. It's based off of an old game called Arkham Horror. This is the card game version. So